that's when he returned the Brussels sprouts to Waitrose. So
yeah, I just quickly, I just want to make it clear, I can't really tell you when I went on holiday.
I can.
Let's just say that I was on holiday at some point, but best not to be too specific. Anyway, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the interesting holiday program with myself and the Home Secretary.
You are very jittery tonight. Your Wi-Fi signal seems to be a little bit bouncing off a satellite or something. So
yes, is that better? Is that okay?
I think yeah. Don't worry. We'll muddle through it. We'll muddle through it. It can't be as bad as me. My workbench chair here has finally run out of pneumatics.
Oh really?
And,
cool.
and every time I pump it up, it just goes. I feel like the guy. Remember the sports desk on the Far Show with the Spanish TV station? He always used to have that little kind of like desk at the end. That's me at the moment. So I'm literally got my knees under my chin here. But anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to.
Yes, we'll try our hardest because my our telephone line seems to have died, which may be having some impact on our broadband. But I hope not. I can hear you clear enough. So can you hear me? Am I making sense?
Yeah, your picture keeps freezing and then your audio kind of drops out a bit, but we'll muddle through. Nobody's said anything. Nobody said anything about it. So we'll just muddle through. We're just fine. We'll be fine. It'll be fine.
What can we say?
What can we say? Right. Shall we? Well, do you want to? Whilst I go and gather the images, would you like to tell the good people that you have one book out and you have another one on its way?
I do have another one on its way, yes, imminently. I've press ganged somebody not a million miles away from me, him, into writing the introduction to this particular book, which I think he's going to quite enjoy doing because it means that he can be all historical over the next few weeks, and might even bring in the mighty Alan Hall into the conversation, which we're thinking might be cool. We are going to bring Alan Hall, and
you've got to,
and not only the mighty Alan Hall. I think we might even be able to bring in the mighty Airfix Annual into said discussion, because I think that might be where the conversation was. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm going away from the Legacy Collection to this thing here. So this is my new book, which will be coming out, I hope, at the beginning of October, depending on workload and all the other nonsense that I've got to do. It's basically 3 very long essays on Hercules-powered aircraft that served with the RAF during World War II, and as such will include this, the Lancaster B2. It will also include the Wellington and the Beaufighter, and it is a kind of step-by-step guide to all 3 of those builds, including construction notes and also weathering information on these 3 models, because the 3 models are not only linked by the fact that they're powered by the same engine, but also I'm going to go through all of the sort of painting ideas that I put, especially on the Wellington, because the Wellington has had a lot of work done around the sort of the structure of the aeroplane, because it's quite obviously quite a flat shape because of the geodetics underneath. It's not made out of. It's not got lots of panel lines all over it. So yes, so it's going to be, I think, hopefully it's going to be, no, not hopefully, I think it's going to be a really good book. It's a good cluster of subjects, and they're 3 new tool kits, give or take, within the last sort of few years, and they're 3 nice subjects, I believe. So I thought I'd bring them all together under sort of the one heading and the one banner. It also means that I can concentrate on airfix subjects, so it's essentially an airfix book. Also, it means I can concentrate on World War II subjects, which I like, and finally I can concentrate on 72nd scale. So this will be the first book that I've produced where 72nd scale is the core of the subject. It covers all of that. So hopefully I think you'll like it. Yes, nice tins of
Don't you worry
crumble.
about that, boy. You carry on with your
Crumble,
spiel for your
I
book.
believe. Yes, so I'm really excited about this book because it's kind of like a throwback for me. 72nd scale is my favorite scale anyway. I love 72nd scale models. So it's a chance to put all of those together. And I'm going to see how this one goes, because if this one works as a cluster of articles, I may repeat the trick, but doing with the Merlin engine next, which means I don't have to just do Spitfires. I can do all sorts of things in there. Obviously, another Lancaster would be kind of cool, but we can deal with P-51 Mustang, we can deal with Spitfires, maybe even a conversion of the Beaufighter to the Merlin engined one, and also the Mighty Mosquito would fit in there as well. So hopefully you'll like this. Hopefully you'll get something from this. I think it'll be a popular book. It'll be something different. I've already got the next sort of 4 or 5 potential books mapped out inside my head, so I know where I'm going with this. Obviously, the Legacy Part 2 will come into this as well. The first part, Part 1, seems to have got some really good feedback, and people who've had the book really like it, really loving it. So I've had some brilliant messages about that. So I'm really pleased that I did that. It was it's kind of an odd choice for a lot of people, because we're using older kits, and I'm putting them into dioramas using older techniques. But people who've seen the book really love it, really are really pleased with it. So I'm excited that that's out there, and I will be excited to do the second part. It probably only will be 2 parts, I think, for the Legacy collection, because I think it's time to kind of move on to other things. And there will be a 3rd book this year as well. Obviously, I've still got the Garage diorama book, which I'm planning on doing. But yeah, I'm really excited about this Hercules book. I think it's something that people will like, and it also means as well, if you want to build these models in other scales, you might be able to get you use the ideas that are in there. They're not specific to 72nd scale, although you can sort of pull out ideas for weathering and painting and all of that kind of stuff out of it. So yeah, hopefully be ready beginning of October, sort of, so that it'll be out with people by mid-October, and then that gives me a chance to do the Legacy collection. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll sort of see how it goes with that one. But this is the next book. It's going to be coming out. Anybody that's seen previous titles from me, anybody that's seen any of the aircraft titles, but also the new Legacy book, will know what to expect from this. I've gone as well with this one. I've gone along the landscape route, really, because they're such wide models. You can see on the front cover there, I wasn't convinced I would get them on a page without having to break it through the gutter. So this is going to be another landscape book, which means that the pictures will be really big and the production will be really nice. Printing will be really nice as well. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy this one, and you'll enjoy what's in there. So if anybody is interested in this book, please get in touch with me. I will be drawing up a list of kind of pre-orders at some point over the next sort of three or 4 weeks. But yeah, hopefully you'll like it, because I'm really excited about this choice, and I'm really excited that this is going to be the next one. So there you go.
I'm surprised you've missed a trick there in not titling the book "The Labours of Hercules."
Trust me, I went through like a million different titles, including the title of one of the articles, and then I thought, actually, I'll probably get sued for doing that. So yes, so I just wanted something nice and short, so people can sort of.
You know what's going to happen, don't you? You know what's going to happen is somebody's going to come back to you, and they're going to go, yeah, I bought your Hercules book. It's got a picture of a Lancaster on the cover.
Actually, it's already happened. A chap commented on it and said, "Hercules, do you not mean Lancaster?" And I went, "No, you're probably going to have to read that again, aren't you?" "Oh yeah, that's what it means." Yes, that's where the link is. So yeah, yes, it's already happened. So yeah, it is.
I've said this before. Go on.
People don't read what's on there. It's kind of, so please, it's not about the Hercules, although I probably could do a book on the Hercules and rope in various friends who've built them. It's about 3 aircraft that are powered by the Hercules engine. It's not, there isn't a C-130 in there. That may well come at some point in the future. That's a target-rich environment, isn't it? The C-130.
Yeah. I got to say though, and I've probably said this on this program before, and I've probably said it elsewhere, and I'm, it's probably heresy when it comes to the Lancaster, but I think they look better with Hercules engines.
Do you know what? I think you're absolutely right.
They just look bomberish. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It looks like a bomber with Merlins, but when you've got those 4 Bristol Hercules engines on it, it just looks,
It looks kind of mean, doesn't it?
Yes.
Whereas the Merlin engine Hercules is just trying to look pretty and trying to be graceful. This thing just like there is.
The Merlin engine Lancaster is very much Roger Moore. The Hercules one is Daniel Craig.
Yes, the Merlin, that's it. It's one is an assassin, the other will just punch you in the face,
exactly,
and go for that. So that's it. That's the book. Also, while I'm on, the Legacy book has the initial print run has sold out now. There are none left of the initial print run. But if there is enough interest in that book that other people might want one, and still would like a copy of the Legacy book, I may do another print run. So if anybody's interested in doing that, I need probably to have somewhere in the region of about 20 copies to make it worth printing it again. The printers don't tend to like me getting in touch with them saying, can I print one? But if they're interested in that book, and honestly, it's great. So if you do fancy a copy of it, I'm really proud of it, and I really like the way it looks. So just contact me.
Presumably, my copy's still held up in the post, is it?
Unfortunately, not at the moment, because I sold everything, and I don't have a copy. So that's probably why I need to print another one. But if I do another print, you will get one.
That's just payback for the biscuits, isn't it?
It is pretty much. I mean, it is. So Merlin bomber engines all look ugly. They do. Yes, they do.
Yes, I think we might actually ban our first person tonight. So
yes, I mean the other sort of part of that is that I like the Merlin engined Beaufighter.
Yes.
That's kind of an interesting.
I like the Merlin engined Wellingtons, of which there's the Airfix kit coming out at some stage.
I don't know that way. I'll add that to the potential list of.
Yes, I think that is, unless I've blurted something out there that I shouldn't have.
Oh, I hope you have.
It's the people saw the Merlin engine stuff on the CAD renders. So
it's funny though, isn't it, that we all have these kind of feelings about these sort of aeroplanes. It's a bit like the P-51. Everybody sort of talks about P-51D, but actually I prefer the B. I think it looks better with the spine, and the same with the razor-backed P-47 Thunderbolt. I think that looks better as a razorback than it does as a bubble top, and it's kind of an odd thing, really. Everybody sort of assumes that you're going to go for the sleeker one, the more glamorous one, but yeah, there we are.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah. Oh, I bet you were sweating there, weren't you?
That's a bit, yes.
You were. I could see the slightly panicked look on your face. I was thinking, "Ooh, I hope they have put that up." Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? It looks nice like that. And also another Alan Hall conversion from back in the day.
Yes,
he did that as a conversion, didn't he? Interesting. But yes, I think that does look pretty cool, doesn't it? Like that. I think there's something rather nice about it.
The old talcum powder and dope.
Yes, yeah.
Which actually is kind of like weird, because what we're doing these days, excuse me, what we're doing these days with the super glue and talcum powder is a kind of, it's a kind of continuation of that technique.
It is. The only difference being is there was nothing hallucinatory about using talcum powder and super glue, whereas using talcum powder and dope often sent you off into the outer limits.
Yes, we won't dwell on that. But
also slightly dangerous as well. I remember Jeff Prentice was talking about this before his untimely death, and said that he felt that actually it was a pretty lethal concoction, and he felt that that was part and parcel of his breathing issues, was using talcum powder and dope.
Yes.
Whether or not that was true, I don't know. It's I've never used it, so I don't know.
No, I have vivid mental images of dear old Alan Hall there sanding away copious amounts of talcum powder and dope, puffing on his pipe, you know, as red sky at night, Alan's house.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Do you know, I don't think I've ever used dope. I might have done back in the day.
Somebody just tuning in now. Let's see what they're talking about tonight. Here's Spencer. I don't think I've ever used dope. Whoa, not watching this.
No. Well, in that case, I very much haven't ever used it, because no, it's not something I've ever. But no, I mean the solution, not a huge bifter.
Yes. Shall we also, because we do actually have a topic tonight, but shall we also? I think elephant in the room is scale model world.
Scale model world. Yeah. Yes, scale model world. Yes, that has now been confirmed that scale model world is going ahead, and it will be taking place over the weekend of the 10th and 11th of November, I think, something along those lines. We talked about this, didn't we, at the beginning of the year, and we weren't sure whether this was going ahead, but it does seem to be going ahead now, with a great deal of kind of proviso tacked onto it, really, one of which is COVID passports. You won't be allowed in the building unless you've got your double jabbed and you can prove it. So that's the first thing, and or tests, I guess, that go with that. You and I are not. I can't go anyway, because I'm at my niece's wedding that weekend. So for the first time since I was 16, I won't be at Scale Model World. There you go, 11th and 12th, or no, 12th and 13th, is it? Is it 12th and 13th? I guess it is. Yeah, 12th and 13th.
November, yeah.
Yeah, so I won't be there, but I guess that it's going to be like a judgment call as to whether people are going, and all of that sort of stuff. But I have a feeling that it's going to be a very different event this year, for a number of reasons. The COVID is obviously the sort of the biggest reason it's going to be different from anything else, and it's going to have a sort of slightly different feel to it, I think, and as a result of that, I'm not sure whether footfall will be anywhere near what it would normally be. But also, this is the first event post Brexit as well, and we're already starting to see that is going to have an effect on this event.
Somebody announced today they were pulling out, didn't they?
Yeah, my good friend Olaf Smeets from Holland, he's not trading. He said it's too much red tape. I can't come over. The amount of forms he's got to fill in and all of that kind of thing before he comes over is just. He said it's just not worth me doing. So he's already pulled out, and he's a major trader as well. Anybody that's seen his diorama accessories and buildings and all of that kind of thing, he's a big trader. That's going to be a big loss. And I posted about this on my Facebook page earlier on. I think it's going to be the thin end of the wedge for European traders coming over. I think it's going to be they're going to have to make big judgment calls. And he said as well, one of the things he discussed during that thread was that it wasn't down to the cost. He traded well enough over the weekend of Scale Model World that he covered his pitch cost. That wasn't a problem. It was all the red tape and everything else that kind of comes with it. And then I think it might have been Dave Fleming might have posted up on that as well, that you're also, if international traders come off the continent and then go back over the continent with stuff that they've bought, chances are they're going to have to do sort of have VAT checks and VAT receipts and all of that kind of thing. It's going to make it untenable. Honestly, I'm starting to sort of feel that, and without going down the sort of political route of talking about Brexit, the whole point of Scale Model World is it's a massively international show, and if this is one of those things that starts to snowball and people and traders start to see that it's just not worth their event, I don't know where that can go as a show, really, as an international event. It certainly concerns me, because those people may just say, well, we'll just do the continental ones. We'll just do Scale Model Challenge. We'll just do K&K. We'll just do Moson. We'll just do all of those. And we just we'll skip it. You know,
and I think that's the thing is that, you know, you meant, you know, the continental shows is you've got all the traders from Spain, Germany, France, Belgium, you name it. They don't have, and you know, they don't have any of the logistical problems in attending and trading at those shows on the continent. So, you know, that's if we talk about scale model, what is the event? I am going to have to think long and hard about this one, because I'm kind of I have to manage an immune deficiency, I think is the best way of putting it, which means I even though I'm double jabbed and everything, the one thing I don't want to catch is COVID, thank you very much. So, you know, it's going to be touch and go to see over the next few weeks how the numbers go in the country in terms of infection rates. Kids are going back to school tomorrow, so you know, we're all going to be kind of keeping an eye on that. I'm also scheduled to do the Alma is We Have Ways Fest in a couple of weeks' time, which I've really been looking forward to doing. But again, that is, you know, that is in the back of my mind. That is contingent upon what the numbers do, what kind of situation we're in 2 weeks' time.
It's such a difficult judgment call for people, I think, with the way that COVID is at the moment. It's a personal thing, whether you do it, whether you don't do it. You know, you can sort of understand that. I mean, my wife, as well, people well know, Elizabeth's a teacher. She teaches reception. You know, so she's going back to work tomorrow, and there is no protection. There's no protection for her. She's worked all the way through it. She did all the bubbles. She worked all the way through key worker stages. She didn't have any time off other than the holidays, you know. So chances are that it's been coming and going through this house for the last 18 months. That's one of the things. We're both double jabbed anyway, you know, and we've already, it's kind of like, yeah, you take that, you deal with it, you look after yourself and all of that kind of thing. But there's nothing to protect either of us from those kids. And 30 kids go to 30 sets of parents who go to 30, who then go to probably 60 different jobs, you know, and mingle with all of those, and everything like that all gets kind of intermeshed into, you know, and I don't know. And also out there, went to the football. I went to watch Coventry play QPR on Saturday and took the train down to London. And it was the busiest I've ever seen. I've never been in a train so busy. It was insane, you know. And there were, you know, once you're in the ground, it's fine, but inside those trains, it was, and people are doing that now, you know, going to work and stuff. It's what it is. Yeah, it's what it is. Yeah, and
this kind of goes back to that experience that I had a couple of weeks ago at Bovington. Is even though they were trying to control the numbers and relying on, you know, people's common sense, unfortunately, you know, people's common sense went out the window as soon as they got into the venue. And then this is the concern I have. I think some people are saying here is John Patrick Huston says, I don't believe masks will be enforced. I think he means, I don't think that mask wearing will be enforced, sadly, which, you know, I've got to say that to me is, it's kind of like, that could be the tipping point. And I have never in the last 10 years or more, I have never come back from Telford without a week afterwards, I go down with a bug of sorts. And that's despite the fact that I am absolutely OCD when it comes to washing my hands and, you know, everything. And of course, the problem you've got with model shows is they are very tactile events. People like picking up kits, they like picking up books, they like thumbing through things of, you know, of folders of decal sheets and things. And it's, you know, fine, I'll attend. I just won't touch anything at all. It's a tricky one, and there's going to be a lot of soul searching over the next couple of weeks to make a decision. So,
you know. I mean, it would be interesting to be there to see what it's like, but I don't see it being a scale model world in its sort of broadest sense. I can't see it being like that at all. I think it'll be, it'll be sort of almost a hybrid event, if that's possible. You know, a large model show, but it's not really scale model world. I don't see. But I've got a good friend who lives here. He's one of the electrical engineers up at International Centre. You know, and they're all starting to sort of get baby steps back into shows being there, and he's sort of fascinated to see how it kind of works out. Yeah, but I mean, if I wasn't at wedding, I would go. But
then you do have the advantage of it is local to you. If it was a 1 day show,
yeah,
maybe, because you could walk in, you could just go, oh no, you know, this is not for me. Out we go again, you know. But anyway, like I say, obviously we don't want to talk down the event, and we don't want to
not at all.
What has been obviously a very hard fought and hard discussed decision by the IPMS committee. You know,
it must have been really difficult for them. Absolutely.
Yeah, damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of those.
The best interests of the society to look after as well. They have the financial interests of the society to look after, and in that regard, they need to have a show. But I think it is going to be down to a lot of individual decision making going on here.
I hope it's honestly, after everything that's happened in this industry, we need some success.
Yeah,
and we
absolutely.
need to get back into the kind of the sort of the rhythm of it, you know, in the same way as live music or theatre or all of that sort of stuff. You know, these model shows are bread and butter to a lot of people, and often they're the only point of contact for modelers with other modelers are at shows. You know, we're fortunate we do all this nonsense, you know, so we can keep in touch with people, you know, by going into their houses and sort of chatting away and doing all that.
Quite literally in some cases.
Yeah, actually, yes, I have broken into a few of your houses. Just, you know, so we get to do those kind of things. But there are people that, you know, working in sort of, you know, on their own, doing all those kind of things, and they like, just even if it's just to be at an event, to see models, just to see things on tables and see kits and everything, and that's a massively important part of it. And I think that this show is a stepping stone into normality for those events, and I wish it all the best. I'm glad that they decided to go ahead with it. Honestly, I think that was the right decision to do. And it will be interesting to sort of see some feedback. US Nationals was a couple of weekends ago, wasn't it? And that seemed to be okay. You know, seemed to have been fun for people who were there. And I hope this one is exactly the same. We need it. And those traders as well, that only, you know, that make their money from shows, God, they need it as well. They desperately need to be able to.
Tim Warner makes the comment. It says it's the Bovington show this weekend. I'm really wanting to go, but I'm seriously thinking what's for the best. Well, again, I've had a couple of people saying, "Oh, are you coming down for the Bovington show?" No, I'm sorry, I'm not at the moment. I need to see. I need to be absolutely confident that it is. You know, I need to be absolutely comfortable, rather, that in an event like this. And yeah, we're gonna have to, like I say, it's gonna be a tough call for a lot of people, and it's going to be an individual decision, but it's going ahead. So, you know, that's good news. So we'll keep our fingers crossed in that regard. Right, we have a topic of sorts for tonight. I'm trying to think how we're going to tackle this. It's a kind of follow-on to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, about when we were talking about the cost of the hobby and the price of kits and things. And one of the things that kept occasionally surfacing was the expense these days for a beginner or a newcomer to assemble a toolkit. And I kind of, when I went for my walk this evening, and I was giving this some thought, because it kind of goes back to what we're talking about, is that you can start out in this hobby fairly small, and then you kind of grow into it.
Yes.
And it's, as much as it's nice to have, you know, a workshop like you and I and Drew and Jen and Mike Williams and everybody else and Ivan, to have a workshop full of a tool for a particular job, is you don't need that. You don't need that to be starting out. So I thought tonight we would literally strip it back to probably, what do you reckon, 10 basic things that you probably need?
Yeah. Most of which are in this little box.
Ooh.
Would you like me to show you my little box?
I'd like to see your box of the lights, please, Mr. Pollard. I'll do the music. Oh, right. Oh, that was from Amazon, wasn't it?
This was from Amazon. And I mean, I'm hoping we've got sort of our regulars on tonight. I'm just hoping that we've got a few other people that are kind of watching this, maybe want to get into tamale making. But yeah, this was something that was it's made in China, as you might imagine. But it is a basic beginner's toolkit, and this one is made for Gundam, I think. For those who don't know what Gundam is, Gundam's Japanese kind of robots and all of that kind of stuff. And this is a toolkit that's sort of aimed at beginners for Gundam. Would you like me to tell you what's in this box?
I'm showing
you. There you go. That's what's in this box. You can see that's the toolkit that I've got. And pretty much, I think that as a beginner, that's all you need in that box. I don't think you need anything else. I can't think of too many other things other than paintbrushes, paint and glue, which are obvious kind of things. But as a toolkit to begin with, I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? You've got your sanding stick.
Well, I was going to say when you kind of like when you strip down modeling to its basics, and even if you weren't going to go as far as buying a kit like this, and to be honest with you, I'm actually going to order one of these tonight because it looks awesome sauce. But the thing is, we can break it down to the very, very basics. A knife.
Yeah.
A knife. Now you can invest in something like a metal handled Swan Morton or a plastic Swan Morton one. You can get them for a couple of quid, but a knife will do the job. It will take the parts off the sprue. It gives you something to trim them with. This set does include a knife and some blades. But yeah, a knife. People say, "Oh, get some nippers." Get a pair of wire cutters or whatnot. Yeah, you could do, but ultimately, distilled down to its very essentials, a knife. You still there? Or have you gone? I think he's frozen. Or he's fallen asleep. Spence, can you hear me? We appear to have lost Spencer for a second there. I think his broadband has... No, he's back. Can you hear me, Spence? I'm going to have to boot him out a second or send him a message to let him know that his broadband appears to have given up on him. Bear with, people. Bear with. Dum-da-dum-da-dum. These technical glitches always tend to happen. So, da-da-da-da-da. Spencer types message. Your signal has gone down. So, I'm just going to boot him and go solo for a while. Yeah, let's go back to that. Go back to that set for a while, and we'll wait for Spence to come back in. So what you do get in that set is, he's back. Right, okay, let's try him. He comes back in. You're back.
Everything vanished.
Yeah, you just died completely.
Disappeared off.
Yeah, as I was saying, people could say, "Oh, get a pair of cutters and a knife."
Yeah.
But I think at the very basic level, a knife. And it could be one of those frangible ones. It could be a craft knife. It could be a Stanley knife, for goodness sake. I used a Stanley knife for years before I had scalpels and craft knives. It did the job.
Yes.
But yeah, a knife. Then you'll need something to clean up with. And that can either be, again, something as elemental as emery boards, which is pretty much what I was using as a kid.
Yeah.
But if you're going to cheapo shops these days, you can find beauticians' nail boards, which are slightly more finessed. They're not far short of actual modelling sanding pads, sanding sticks. And again, you can pick them up for, quid. So you've instantly got something to cut with, something to sand with. Failing that, you can buy packs of wet and dry paper in pound shops of, something about 20, 30 sheets of wet and dry paper. That'll last forever.
Yep.
So wet and dry paper. You can get sets of tweezers for about £1. Job done. Knife, tweezers, abrasive.
Nothing much else.
Nothing much
really.
Else. It's
you don't
finessing from that point onwards.
And that's one of the great things about this little set that we were talking about before. I was so obviously thrown
technologically.
This set includes a lot of the stuff that's in this set because of I guess where it was made, and it's made down to a price. But I have to say, it includes these side cutters, obviously, and I had a set of Zoron side cutters, the orange ones. In fact, I've still got them. They're still hanging off my desk. These ones are essentially copies of that. And I don't know how strong the material is. I don't know how sharp the edges are or whatever. But these are way better than the ones I first had when I was starting out. They're great. So those are really useful as well. I think the reason why I would recommend these side cutters is simply because it's a safety kind of issue. Oh, hello, John. You don't want to be putting your address up on there, mate.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Whoops, days.
Yes.
I forgot I was online. I was about to do some ordering then.
Blimey. Anyway,
no,
so
right.
John lives in Luton.
I'm a registered company, so people can find me anyway. So
yeah. And the reason I recommend these and why these would be in the top 5 tools is a safety issue, I think, for a lot of people. Because I don't know about you, but when I used to start out modeling and I was cutting parts away from the runners with a scalpel or something like that, it was often easy to either break the blades or dive one into my finger. Whereas with these, it's much cleaner cut. It also means you don't damage the parts, those kind of things. So that would be the next thing in my collection. So now what we've got is we've got a knife, we've got some tweezers, got some abrasive, got a set of side cutters, and in here as well are some files. And files are really useful just because, as you're all aware, they're hard edged. So whereas with sandpaper or a sanding stick, something like this kind of thing, often you will create a curve around cleaning up. Whereas with a file, it will be as flat as it needs to be. So if you're cleaning off a burr on something, you're using a file, it isn't going to sort of soften over the top of that. So files are the next kind of thing. What else is in here that's kind of really useful? What I like about this set as well is it includes 2 knives. It uses one that's got snap-off blades and one that's just basically a rather lethal looking craft knife. Now, when I started out, somebody had made a comment about this earlier on, using Stanley knives, and I used to use a Stanley knife for modelling until I sliced through this finger, and the scar is still there. If anybody can see that, you can see that on there. The scar is still there, and it went straight the way through. Have you got it one as well? And it went straight the way through.
Humbrol one that was my Airfix knife.
Yeah, and it went straight through to the bone, and I've never used a Stanley knife again anywhere near my workbench. But I used to use, do you remember those little disposable orange plastic knives you used to be able to get? And they would come in like a bubble pack. And those ones. I can't think of who they were made by now. I used those for years and years and years. I used to, and I seem to remember the blades came in like a paper. I think it was like in a kind of paper cover. But those were great. So simple kind of things. But I genuinely think that if you were starting out building models, a set like this would be almost all you would need. Between you and I, we could probably set up somebody's workshop for and create something that was that would get them through the first, few years of work for less than 50 quid, couldn't we? I would think.
This is the thing that I was thinking about this evening, was because one of the comments was that it was kind of, to get into modeling these days, it costs a lot of money. Well, it costs money.
Yeah.
What hobby doesn't?
Yeah, indeed.
What are you going to get into these days that isn't going to essentially, require an outlay of money? Tonight I broke in my new walking boots, which I actually got at the Carrymore Men Dips. I got them for a ridiculous sale price. They're brilliant, but still, it's an investment because I do a lot of walking and I wear out walking boots. But it's an investment. Anything you take up as a hobby, it is going to require you to put a bit of money into it at first, so that you can reap the benefits in the long term.
I think what we're talking about tonight is we're talking about the hard aspects of a toolkit, aren't we? We're not talking about consumables. This is just about, we're not talking about paints and glue, because that's kind of a given that you need those kind of things. But you're absolutely right. They become sort of things that you need to start off. But honestly, could we do this for 50 quid? I think we might even be able to do it for 30 quid, actually, if we thought about it. 10 quid for this little box set, which you've now ordered, and we know where it's going to.
5 quid for some glue.
Five. Well, what I was thinking is 10 quid for this. A little mini drill, pin vise, and some drill bits probably would be a useful addition.
But do you need them at this early stage?
Yes, you do, actually, and I'll argue why that is. I'm currently building the Airfix Beaufort, and in the Airfix Beaufort there are a number of areas on that kit where you have to drill holes through them. So one of them is in the bomb bay. The bomb bay gives you the brackets for the torpedo. So to do that, you need to drill through the hole. So I'd make an argument that is something that would be a worthwhile investment.
Not a knife blade, and just
no, because I'll tell you why I think that. And I use a knife blade. I use a scalpel knife blade if I'm reaming out gun barrels, for instance. I use that old technique, where you put it into the center and you just twist it. So I'm using it for gun barrels. I've never been able to center a pin drill perfectly into a small gun barrel and get it to it always kind of rotates off, doesn't it, and then carves the muzzle out, which is not a lot of good. But what I would argue, and I can be shocked at any of this, I think it's almost setting up best practice to begin with. And so using a pin vise, which don't cost very much, do they? They cost a couple of quid, and a set of little pin drills, you probably get those offline for a couple of quid. I think that's a good investment to start off with, because you're creating your own personal best practice. You're using the right tool for the right job. Gloss coats. So that's kind of where I would go with that. So we've got this little box, then a pin vise and some little mini drills and a set of paintbrushes. Is there anything else that you would need? And we could get those for less than 25 quid, maybe less than 30 quid.
Dave Fleming made the point that I'm just going to call them up in a second. That set of paintbrushes that I ordered off of Amazon, which I've
got a set of, and they are. I agree with you. I watched it the other night. They are brilliant, aren't they?
They are very, very good. Just to suddenly kind of break up the narrative flow here, I've actually just discovered that you can also get a slightly slimmed down set for $8.99.
Okay, what's in that then? And that's really adequate as well, isn't it?
That actually, I might just cancel the order I've just made for the bigger set and actually get this one, because I don't think I need the frangible knife and the pen knife or anything. This distills it down into really the basics.
Yeah,
that's it. That's a beautifully efficient
toolkit. Yeah, the other knife that's in the other set, which is this thing here. If you can kind of see this, it's almost like a butter knife. And I wondered what this was for. It's got like a relatively sharp blade on it. I don't think you can cut anything. I think it would be. I tell you what, this would be really good for cutting styrofoam or cutting paper, maybe. But the other thing I thought this would be really useful for would be applying filler. In the same way as a putty knife would be kind of really useful. But I agree with you, John. You don't need much more than that's in that. One of the things that I'm sort of keeping an eye on the comments. Another thing that is very useful to have is clothes pegs. Yeah, I've got clothes pegs sat on my. You can use burner clamps and all of that kind of thing. But yeah, clothes pegs are a very useful thing to have.
I use clothes pegs all the time. In fact, you can see a clothes peg with some paint on it. But the other thing that I can get from pound shops are these neat little clamps, which are very useful.
Good, yeah.
Or when it comes to binding kit bits together, to holding them together, go back old school is rubber bands and sellotape tape.
Tape, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I find it reasonably exciting, the idea of of having a tiny little toolkit. And one of the great things about this is, and I sort of suggested to some friends that I was going to set up like a duplicate kit to the one that I've got on my workbench. And so if I went to the model club or went to shows and I do demonstrations, all I need to do is pick up the toolkit that I've got and just take the box as you would, if you're a car mechanic or whatever. And this would be a perfect basis of that. The one that I've got in this little box, you just fling it into one of those little, kind of little, I don't know, caterpillar boxes, the kind of little things that lift up, and put that in there and take it with you. And the other thing as well is that you can sort of add into this if you want, sort of cheapest chips. We did mention about airbrushes and stuff. You can get little tiny compressors now, which cost about 30 quid as well, that fit into tiny little boxes that go with that as well. So, and that's another discussion for another day. But I think that this is a really good starting platform for anybody that wants to take up the hobby. And also, I don't do it now, but this is the perfect kind of thing if you were sitting in front of, the TV with like a little table, sort of proper old school, a little sort of fold away table. You could have this on there and a cutting mat. That's all you need. You could happily sit there and just glue parts together and clip them off and everything, and then just put it back in its box and off you go. Have you ordered that now?
I just, what? I thought I'd ordered the bigger set, and it turns out it was stuck in my in my I say waste basket, in my shopping basket. So I've actually just ordered this set for eight of my £8.99, which is fabulous. I think this looks. Do you know what? This is something going a bit Michael Caine. Do you know what? What I'm going to do is actually build something, and in terms of the tools that I'm going to use for the construction side, apart from the glue, is everything is going to be in this set.
Yes,
that's it. Just to prove a point. So, £8.99. I think that's fabulous.
Yes, good.
And like I say, because these are essentially kind of X-Acto tribute band knife handles.
They are a tribute. That's it.
They are a tribute band. You can get fresh blades for these, no problem.
Yes, of course. You can fit them in, can't you? I would
imagine. So there we go. I think okay, tonight in terms of a stripped down bare bones toolkit, that's actually cheaper than if I actually tried to go out and buy a lot of that stuff separately.
Yeah. So and also, I mean, I've still got stuck to my magnetic strip in the studio. I've got tweezers that I've had since I was 13 that were part and parcel of a dissection kit from school. Do you remember those old dissection kits you used to have? They used to be in like a canvas bag that rolled in on itself, and inside there was knives and tweezers and everything. And those tweezers are from that set. I've had them for, how old am I now? Yeah, I've had them for like 40 years or something since I left school. And you know, and they yeah, exactly, they suited really well. And also I think for a lot of modelers, I mean, we use tools all day. I use, you know, I'm working with every day, so I need stuff to last. But I think for modelers who are working on their kits for a few hours a week, and they're doing it as a hobby for a few hours a week, you know, these are more than good enough to deal with that. You know, and as great as it is to go out and spend, you know, 35, 40 quid on a set of disc by side cutters, and as great as those are, you know, these are going to do for most jobs that you go into and sort of see how they work, you know. So yeah,
it's all about managing expectations as well. We're talking, you know, we are trying to get into the mindset of essentially ourselves 40 odd years ago, when we were trying to piece together that, you know, suddenly piecing together a toolkit, suddenly having the, you know, a few more resources at our fingertips, literally, in order to get on with our modeling. I mean, I can always remember, oh blimey, this is going to be Christmas 1970, 1978, 79, 78, it was 78, and going into Antics in Bristol, not Antics, the Modeller's Den in Bristol, but it's just across the road from where Antics is now, and getting some files, including a needle file, a rat tail file, triangle file. I've still got them here on the workbench. They're a little bit rusty. They're a little bit worse for wear. But suddenly having those, I bought a decent modelling knife and some plasticard and a few other things. I thought that was it, you know, king of the world here. But just going back to suddenly, you know, I come home from school, and if I was lucky enough to be building something, just to sit there and lay out my impressive array of tools, a knife, a scalpel, some files, some plasticard. Oh, what more did I need? So this, like I say, we're trying to not demystify, but we are trying to demonstrate, and we are demonstrating literally by putting our money where our big fat mouths are, by saying, okay, look, you know, if you are coming back into this hobby, or you're fresh into the hobby and you really do want to make a go of it, and you're wondering what tools you know are out there, we're gonna road test this toolkit and see what it is, because if it's viable, that's £9 for a toolkit. That's an absolute bargain.
Yeah, it is, and like I say, I go back to need as well, and what you go for, and my needs for certain tools are going to be different from an average kind of hobbyist's needs for tools. That goes without saying, because of what I have to do. And, you know, it's the same with you when you're designing. You're using high-end design software and that kind of thing. You wouldn't expect to do your work on a tablet. You have to have the tools that you need to use. But saying that, I probably use the same 5 or 6 tools on every single project that I've got. So it's not like I'm using 1,000 different things. People can see my work. You can see what tools I use, and that's pretty much it. And it's been like that for the last, I don't know, however long.
I occasionally clean this out because it suddenly gets a bit overstuffed. But as you can see, this is a beautiful box that came with some presentation whiskies, incidentally. As you can see, essentially, I've got about 100 billion tweezers here, but it all comes down to these 3.
Yes.
2 Tamiya ones, and I can't remember where the other one is. Because that's what I ended up using. It all comes down to the fact that I still use clothes pegs and these clamps for painting or using parts and whatever. At the moment, despite the fact that I went out and bought a full suite of these Infini sanding sponges, I am still using the same 400 one that I got first time round. I haven't even used the other one from the set. It's amazing how, despite the fact that there is, you know, there is a polishing machine here. I must have used that about 3 times. But beyond that, and my despise, and my scalpel blade, which is in here, pretty much everything else in here could be relegated to a B box.
Yes,
the B
yes,
team.
indeed.
This is the A team. But it need not. I think this is the thing we're trying to emphasize here. It need not be expensive. There will be expense. You can't get away from that. There will be expense, but it need not be expensive. So okay, let's just say we've assembled this toolkit for £9. Say we've gone out and bought a pin vise and a couple of drills. Shall we account at least another £5-6 for that?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
£5 for glue, because I think that's about £4.99 these days. I'd probably say get a bottle of Tamiya, the extra, I don't know, either extra thin or the thick, the white cap.
Honestly, as a beginner, I'd go for the white cap.
Yeah, white cap. So a fiver. Yeah. So okay, we've just pushed through £20 there.
Yeah.
That's good enough to get on with things. Paint is going to be the next big expense. We will wrap this up within about the next 10 minutes or so. But paint is going to be the next big expense. But you can't avoid that.
No.
If you want to be making models, you can't avoid paint. So I was thinking about this tonight, and I was thinking, okay, if somebody was to say to me, I want to build an aircraft and my resources are limited, and et cetera, I would say, okay, look, go out and get something like, start where pretty much everybody started, a Spitfire. Okay. Go out and buy a Spitfire. What paints do you need to paint your little 72nd scale Airfix Spitfire? You need your duck egg blue, duck egg green, whatever you want to call it, sky. So you need your Humbrol 90, you need 29 dark earth, you need your 30 dark green, and your 33 matte black. I wouldn't bother with the 24 for the propeller blades at this stage. You just need to get into the rhythm of building a model. Don't worry about that. What about the interior color? Use the sky, use dark green, mix the two together. That's it, and whatever. If I was to say get a supplementary color early on, is probably get some 11 silver, or other paint ranges are available, but get some silver for the simple reason, if you got black, you got silver, then you've got an entire range of metallic colors that you can mix yourself. You don't have to go out and buy another color. You can. Up until the mid 1980s, I'd never bought a tin of Humbrol 53. I always mix black and silver. So you could say, okay, then you're talking about, at the very basic, 4 tins of paint there. Sky, dark green, dark earth, black. That's it. And if it's a case of somebody then says, right, I've built that, I want to build something else, I would say, well, if you want to get the most out of your paint, build a Hurricane.
Yes. Yes, you've already got the paint. Dave Swindle's just put something on there, and I was having a look at this yesterday, and it sort of reminded me of our time when we were in the Blitz Cafe in Western Supermare a while back, 2 years back, I think, actually. And you showed me the test shots for the Spitfire Mark V, I think it was the Airfix one at the time. Was it last year? It might have been last year, actually. And that starter set is actually in my workroom at the moment, and it includes paint, includes glue, and that's what, I don't know, 10, 15 quid, is it? I don't know how much that kit is though. So you've essentially got a model there with glue and paint, and then you need, and the brushes are in there as well, and then this. So you could say to somebody, if you've never built a model in your life, and you fancy having a go, buy one of those. I mean, like you say, it's a Spitfire. It's got a few parts. It's not complicated. You could knock that thing together in an hour or so. I mean, that's like a kind of kids kit, isn't it? The starter pack of that kit. Put it together and just see whether you kind of like it. That's the thing. It's that, buy it, put it together, And if it sort of ticks all the boxes and it gets you going, then you've spent £8 on your little toolkit, and you've spent another, 12 quid on an Airfix Spitfire or whatever. You spent 20 quid on something you could work on a Saturday afternoon to see whether or not you like it. Yeah, it's not a Tamiya F14, but it's a step off. It's a jump point for you to do that. And I'm sort of sitting here while I'm talking to you, and I'm thinking that could be a cool little project actually, to build that Spitfire with only what's in the Spitfire box, not even using any other paints. Just use the paints that are in there, the brush that's in there, and this thing, and obviously even tube glue. When was the last time I used tube glue? Can't remember. I mean, it must be 30 years ago I used tube glue for the last time I used that. I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's yeah. So it could be an interesting project to see how that would work out. Also, hand painting a model.
Well, again, I would, well, at the risk of upsetting, kind of like 50% of the modeling community out there, is with a beginner, I wouldn't even kind of expect them to kind of do things like glossing for decals and things like that. Is just get the decals on, learn, get the decals on, get into that tactile experience, that rhythm, that muscle memory of building models. Again, I think it's this kind of like it's well meant and it is sincere, but sometimes I see beginners or inexperienced modelers, they get absolutely avalanched with too much information, too many techniques, too many this, that, and the other, and you kind of like you almost want to step in and say, just back it up a bit there. They're not looking to bang out something like Miguel Jimenez or Martin Kovac or Alex Wilder. Alex, I call him Alex. Sorry, Alex. Adam. They're not looking to bang out something like that. It is those first tentative steps of gluing something together, seeing whether they can get into it. And I think we as enthusiasts and enthusiastic modelers, we can sometimes be a little bit too enthusiastic to the point that you literally swamp somebody with, it's literally. Do you remember that game on Crackerjack where they used to have to hold all the stuff at the end? It's like that. You need this, you need this, you need this, you need this, and bit by bit you can't see them because they're holding too much stuff. No. I think we can strip it right back to this. This is it. This is all you really need. Build something, and if you enjoy it, build something else. We're talking about paints there for a second. Is another expense you've another expense to factor into that, but I'm going to say it's peanuts because that sounds like I'm being very dismissive. But if you're using enamels, you can get a bottle of white spirit from a pound shop. Job done. If you're using acrylics, your thinning and cleaning agent comes out of the tap, so you're fine.
Well, exactly. Yes, exactly. But I mean, I agree with you on the the offering advice. I've seen beginners be told to buy an airbrush, and it's like, yeah, but the person got to even glue the parts together. Yeah, they still kind of have to learn all of those kind of things, So it's those are the brushes. We bought these. We really liked them. I was really impressed.
I'm very much of the opinion that always, buy the best brushes you can afford. And that goes back to Chris Ellis in How to Go Plastic Modeling. Yes, that book, where he was talking about it's worth foregoing a couple of kits to just go out and get some decent sable paintbrushes, which I followed, and it is advice. Still advice that I would say go for. But to be honest with you, I think that is advice I would give to somebody if they're still building models after a year and they're saying, I want to kind of move up a notch now. Then I'd say, okay, go out and invest a few more quid, get yourself some decent paintbrushes. But these, I have been using these I've people are going to go, God, he's so bourgeois, this bloke. He's got paintbrushes that he only uses for acrylics. These are pretty much, this set I only use for acrylic paints. And they have performed fantastically. So much so that I might actually get another set, which I will keep in another jar here, just for using oil, just for oils and enamels.
You are so bourgeois.
I tell you what, I will be volunteering myself to be first against the wall, quite frankly. But but these are, again, these are ridiculously good. I am fully expecting these to be rubbish and for them to fail, and for me to come back and say, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, $8.99 for 16 paintbrushes. It showed. It ain't happening at the moment.
I have to say, I bought 2 sets of paintbrushes that were a similar price to these ones, which we talked about online. I also bought another set that had round handles, round black handles. And these ones were really good, and I was really impressed with them. The ones with the round handles, they just broke as I was using them. The ferrule came away from the sort of the wooden part of it. They were a bit loose. They weren't as good. But I have to say, as a paintbrush set, these are some of the best I've ever used, and I use them every day. They really are an extraordinary price. How they can be manufactured and sold for £9 it is truly beyond me. I think
the only thing I'd add to that is a decent flat.
Yes, and I have to say I bought a larger set of flat paintbrushes as well that I got off online that were like £15, and they were really good as well. But with the sort of the filbert brushes, which I use for weathering and that kind of thing, that is where I don't really compromise on paint. I use the Rowney Georgian ones with the red tipped handles, and those are more expensive, but they're what I need for work. They blend better. But in terms of detail paintbrushes, I really don't think you can go wrong with these at all. And if anybody needs sets of paintbrushes, they really are great, aren't they? I mean, we're not just bulling them up because we bought the sets to try them out. We weren't given them or anything like that. We tried them out, and they are really, really good. Yeah.
No, I honestly, I know people sometimes. Oh, so if you say things like that, you're getting it for free. No, these are instances where we are actually going out, and we are actually, as I say, we're putting money where our mouths are to try and show what is out there. Incidentally, flat brushes. Big up for the home team here. These are some of the Humbrol flat brushes. These are actually really very, very, very good. I use them quite a lot for various kind of like weathering and painting tasks, but I've had these now for probably about 5 years. They are still keeping their shape. They are very, very good brushes. What are these? These are the green ones. I think we'll call these the green ones.
And whilst we're on the subject of sort of flat brushes and their use, because we use flat brushes for dry brushing and that kind of thing, I would recommend using stenciling brushes for dry brushing. You can buy stenciling brushes. They're really short, about that big, and they've got like a kind of a curved sort of head on them. They're quite wide. You can get some that have got quite sort of rough hair. I can't even think, all really kind of hard sort of heads on them. But you can also buy some that are really soft. And I bought those as a set for like £5 or £6. I think I probably picked them up from the local bookshop, Works. I think I probably got them from there for £3 or £4 or something. They're brilliant for dry brushing, especially if you're doing groundwork or buildings and that kind of thing. Big subjects where you can dry brush them. So it's sometimes worth picking those up. And I also bought, and you've probably seen them in the works, they did a couple of sort of like £1 sets of paintbrushes that had yellow handles on them, which you might have seen in there. And I thought I'd give those a go as well. And I found those to be really good, and I'm still using those as well. So it's sort of about experimentation, but those ones that we've shown you tonight are really brilliant. Get yourself on Amazon.
You just reminded me, I think I even sent you a couple of these. I got these from the local Poundland. a pair of De La Rowney paintbrushes.
Yeah, that's them. Those are good.
For £1.
Yeah.
These are perfectly good for applying washes, for dry brushing. Okay, we're talking about slightly more advanced techniques here, but these are perfectly fine. They do a job. In fact, I've bought quite a few of them, and also these for £1. These are De La Rowney. They're not going to be chucking out tat. They are
Yeah,
exceptionally good.
I'm a bit of a nightmare with paintbrushes.
There are two things I'm a complete snob about. 3 things I'm a complete snob about. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll be back. Tea and paintbrushes and cheese. Yeah. But tea and paintbrushes.
Yeah. Oh, I fancy some cheese and biscuits. Actually, I haven't eaten yet, so that would be kind of
yeah. But I am really quite sniffy about paintbrushes. So if I let's just say that this tankard here, those are my this is my A team of paintbrushes.
He's pointing at the screen. I'm pointing at nothing at the moment, but you've got one of the Daily Rowner, the Rowney, Georgian, the Filberts. That's the ones that I use. Yeah, they're brilliant.
Suffice to say, these have been collected over a number of years. Okay, this tankard here is easily the best part of about £100 of paintbrushes, right? But I've also got an absolute mountain of other brushes I've got here. I got these ones here. My
Lord, how many paintbrushes do you need?
I am an inveterate
paintbrush hoarder.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to operate on the basis of, oh, they're not De La Rowney sables. I'm just going to dismiss them. I go out and buy them, and if they're junk, they're junk. If they're junk, they can still get used for other things. But but I think also the days of when people used to go to model shops and they try and build models with those horrible kind of like nylon paintbrushes, the really kind of like ones. I mean, those have long gone. I actually think a lot of the budget paintbrushes out there these days are very, very quality.
They are very good, yeah. They're certainly a lot better than those. But I'm not about to dismiss those horrible nylon brushes because I used a lot of them in the past, as did I an Aztec airbrush, which you... Yes, I used an Aztec, going back to sort of budget ranges of things, I used an Aztec airbrush professionally for nearly 10 years.
I'm not even going to get drawn into this. Ian Goldstraw says, cutting mat.
Yeah, that's a useful addition as well.
Again, you don't have to go out and buy a cutting mat. A piece of hardboard.
Is that, you use that a lot, don't you?
Well, yeah. In fact, I am, next time I go down to the DIY shop and I go and have a look and see what they've got in their offcuts, if they've got some offcuts of hardboard, even though I've got a beautiful Tamiya cutting mat here, which I use for photography, I just still love that thing of a piece of hardboard as a work surface. It kind of like it connects me, man, to my my past, man. No, it does. Seriously, it is a link back through to my modelling past.
The other thing that I use regularly is when I'm working is kitchen roll, kitchen towel. I use plenty as my kind of, because it's kind of much thicker than other stuff. So that's the thing I have. So kitchen towel is always in the workshop. And the other thing I do is I buy packs of A2 white card, and I buy it in packs of 200, which lasts me a couple of years. And what I use that for is that's where I paint, and I basically put it on my paint. I have 2 desks. I have my construction desk and I have my painting desk, and on top of my painting desk I always put a clean piece of white card. Anybody that's seen my workshop will know that I'm completely anal about keeping it tidy and keeping it clean and making sure there's no dust in there. And one of those things that I do is that by the side of my spray booth there's an area where I paint, and you've probably all seen photographs of this. On top of that is always a piece of A2 card, this white card, and then I just hold it down with blue tack, and then I paint on that. I paint on then I put that on, and then I put a couple of squares of plenty on there as well. That's what I work on, and then when I finished with that model, everything that all then gets ripped up and thrown away, and then I start afresh for the next model. So I'm always starting on a white, on a clean white palette. I can't work on anything
after
dirty.
the show. Can you send me a link for that, because I could do with getting some of that actually.
Yeah, I ordered it online, so I'll see if I can find the thing. I will send you the link to that.
Just a couple of quick things before we go. In fact, two things here that we've actually overlooked, but they are, well, cocktail sticks.
Indeed,
absolutely. You can get them again. You can buy packs of 3 for about £1. I think I got through my last pack of 3, which lasted about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So that's good. And Matthew also says blue tack. You can get blue tack from pound shops. They're nice and cheap. And Philip Jones says masking tape. Well, I think masking tape, again, we're kind of like, masking tape is something that you need if you're venturing into the realms of masking. If you're just hand painting, then I don't think you quite need it at this stage. However, if you want to have something to use for masking and or holding kit parts together, and you're on a budget, then you can get that in DIY shops, cheap as chips.
I would. The one thing about frog tape, and I'm going to put this out there, is I use that. I tend to use that on dioramas. I found that is stickier than the Tamiya tape, and I managed to pull paint off with it on a model. And so be careful with it, with that sort of stuff. But masking tape, again, masking tape is going into the realms of best practice, which is where the drill bits are really, and you're in an area where that becomes one of the things that you kind of learn after you've learned to apply paint, and that's another sort of area. John and I probably started off using sellotape to mask things.
I was going to say, ultimately, when it comes to kind of like, if you need something to kind of hold kit parts together while they're drying or things like that, again, just sellotape. There's nothing wrong with sellotape. Any kind of tape will do the job. I
used magic tape for a while.
Magic tape.
Nothing
wrong with rubber bands. Old techniques as well.
Yeah. So it's and I think, like I say, it's about sort of setting up your sort of base layer of tools, and then sort of working around that to sort of create an environment that's easy to work. Find somewhere that's quiet. Find somewhere that's that you're not gonna have to keep moving things all the time. I saw something really brilliant the other day. I really loved it actually, and I thought, that's great. It was an old bureau. Somebody had used a bureau, and they'd converted. I think it might have been a Games Workshop modeler. Was painting figures, and he converted a bureau into a workstation. So he just kind of pulled everything down, and it sort of opened out, and he got like paints in there, and it was really stripped back. There was very little. I think he might have had a box like this in there where it sort of went in, and then when he finished work, he just closed the bureau up, and it became a nice piece of furniture in the kind of the room. I thought that was like really cool, It's about those kind of things. Not everybody has a room. Not everybody can have a room to themselves. It's just about finding somewhere that's kind of comfortable. And finally, the other thing that I think is really well worth investing in, and Sir Drew of Manton mentioned this a couple of days ago, is lighting. Is light. Make sure that you have decent lighting. If you're working in, I'm sat under in here. This is new LED lighting that I've put in my office, but I've also got the same light in the workshop. But I couldn't work under just this. It's not bright enough for me. I have desk lamp. So daylight lamps are something that I think are well worth investing in as well.
Or for a lot of people, is ultimately, if they're on a budget, is just daylight. Yeah,
or just daylight. Just make sure there's some light, work by a window or something like that. And the reason for that is because of eye strain. You don't want to be looking into something and really straining to see it. So we wear glasses, but we've got to the age where my eyesight dropped off a cliff when I hit 50. So my sort of close vision is just nil.
Oh, mine's absolutely horrific these days. But hey ho. But yeah, I think what we've. I think this has been a great discussion tonight. It's been an expensive one for me, but it's been a good discussion.
Stop spending money.
I know it's but no, I think what we've got here is the genesis of a kind of sub project now of being able to anybody who asks the question from here on in, what kind of tools do I need to get as a beginner or a newcomer, or I'm returning to the hobby, is you're almost creating like a resource pack now to say, right, look, here it is. I will take photographs. I will order, I'll order some more stuff. I will take some more photographs and things, so that you've literally got that little display of tools, paintbrushes, shall we say, additionals, cocktail sticks, blue tack, clothes pegs. But there's things like clothes pegs, sellotape, rubber bands. Those are things that can just become like filched from the house anyway. So they're all kind of things that that can be scavenged. But I hopefully, like I say, I don't like to kind of like, how can I word this? I do sometimes think we as modelers do have I wouldn't say a duty, but I do think we have perhaps a responsibility to be ambassadors for our hobby in many respects. I was told a while back by somebody, they went, I'm not an ambassador for this hobby. And I think, well, no, but when people are mixing and kind of like forums and social media, or whatever, and you've got that kind of mixed ability, I do think there is a little bit of a responsibility to be ambassadors for this hobby. We want more people making models. We want people to get on board and enjoy this, and and to kind of like to take it up. So I think if we can demystify some of the things, or we can show that like we were trying to do the other week, is to say, look, it really isn't as expensive as people keep talking about it. There are different stratas of expense, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to strip it right back to the basics and saying, okay, we're starting from the bottom. Let's assemble a basic toolkit. And I think it's been good tonight, because this is what we started doing, and then hopefully from this it will splinter off into building projects, demonstrating projects, maybe even some lives and whatever, to show this is what we're building using just stuff
that we've managed to accrue.
I like a challenge, and I'm actually, despite the fact that I'm sat here in a modestly well-equipped workshop, I actually like the idea of the challenge of building something, and it's like bootstrap modeling. Jack Monroe, don't worry, I'm not going to use that. So
bootstrap modeling.
Right, okay. Any other business?
No, I think we're all done.
Excellent, right.
Does that mean we can eat now?
Food. Thank you tonight for. Oh, a very quick one there from John Patrick Huston. He says, "Free coffee stirrers." No.
Never stolen coffee stirrers from coffee houses ever.
No,
that would be no.
We absolutely do not condone that kind of behaviour.
And going back to the point I made earlier on, I in no way did I hold on to my dissecting kit from my days at grammar school when I should have handed it back.
If anybody from the Western School of Art is watching and wondering about, it's absolutely not true. I handed everything back when I left in 1987. So
I really didn't. Yes.
Yeah, I've told you the story about the airbrushes, didn't I? I didn't keep them, but yeah, I told you the story about the airbrushes. That was hilarious. Anyway, well, thank you to Spencer Pollard, Mr. Pollard, for turning up tonight. It was very kind of him. We've overshot a bit, but hey ho. I think we've had a fruitful discussion tonight, and I think it has led into yet another interesting little avenue that we will explore in the future. And I think interesting is what we're all about.
Yes, if we have the time. Which is rapidly running out this year, I have to say. So yeah, thanks for having me on. I hope it was useful, and
Absolutely. And we'll be back. Should be back with Drew on Sunday for the news show. Boy, has it been a week for news.
Yeah, a lot of stuff for you.
One of those days today. I go and make a cup of tea, and it's like, it's like more new kits.
Yes, and I'm very pleased to see that Airfix had announced their merger in Wellington, because don't really want to see the panicked look on your face like we saw earlier again.
I'm going to write up on the wall here.
That was
like,
quite
do not mention
spectacular.
That.
Please.
No, never done it in the past, and I'll never do it in the future. I can guarantee it.
Yes, indeed.
Loose lips sink ships.
Indeed.
Apparently.
And there aren't any ships.
On that note, just to say thank you everybody for turning up tonight. Sorry we didn't have a name call out tonight, but thank you to everybody. We appreciate you watching this absolute nonsense. We'll be back on Sunday. Until then, from myself and Mr. Spencer Pollard Esquire, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.
See you later.